As the Lazarus rains continue to pelt the globe, affecting the magical world, heroes will need to rise to the occasion. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Lazarus Planet, We Were Gods, issue number 1, and find out what happens next together, shall we? So, once again, this is another anthology story. First up, we have one that introduces a young family patrolling their waterfront property during the Lazarus storms, making sure that nothing crazy came ashore. Of course, it's just their luck that they end up finding a bunch of blonde dudes washed up on the beach. Geez, someone calls Sweden, we got a blonde dude problem again. They don't go in the ocean, they go in the blue bin. The family takes one of the more alive-looking blonde dudes back to their house, and I think we're supposed to believe this guy is Aquaman because, well, he looks a lot like Aquaman. But no, the truth is actually much more interesting. This guy ends up going nuts after he comes to and bites the father, who in turn decides to give chase after him with his gun. I get the feeling this dude just really wanted to shoot someone when he woke up that day. Blondie ends up running back to the water where all of him and his bro-sifs were beached, and it's here we end up coming face to face with the real Aquaman, who drops a real major story bomb. Turns out these blonde dudes are actually trench creatures transformed by the Lazarus rain into human forms, or should I say transformed back into their original forms. If you'll recall, the trench monsters weren't always gross little Cthulhu-looking guys, they were actually a missing tribe of Atlanteans who were only mutated by their time in the trench. And now it looks like their whole society has been transformed overnight. Want to know more about this? Be sure to pick up the brand new Aquaman book whenever it is that starts. After that, we get treated to a Wonder Woman story. Diana is back on the Themyscira training new Amazon Bia in the art of sword fighting. Bia, of course, is one of the newer Amazonians who came from the same Well of Souls as the current Queen Nubia did. The training exercise ends up getting interrupted when Bia gets herself grabbed and dragged underwater by some zombies. It would seem that the Lazarus resin has washed up here on the Isle of Themyscira and animated the corpses of Heracles, the Amazon's most hated foe. It's during the fight a rather interesting thing happens. Heracles calls Wonder Woman a clay thing, which is wild because ever since the New 52 and the Gal Gadot movies, the books have bent over backwards not to ever invoke Wonder Woman's original, and in my mind, way better origin story, but I guess all of that is changing right here, right now, and you know what? Good for them. Wonder Woman and Bia are soon reinforced by Queen Nubia and the rest of the military, who are able to make short work of these ancient Greek zombies. Diana even manages to get an absolute baller line saying to Heracles that he stood no chance against the Amazons when he was flesh and blood, and that he stands even less chance now that he is but salt and bone. Damn, that's a good line. Here's the thing though, Heracles ends up only being the tip of a much bigger, much nastier undead iceberg, as even more of the Amazons' past foes have been resurrected thanks to the Lazarus rain. The doors to Hades have very literally been kicked open and evil souls are now running amok. We've got all the armies who have ever failed to conquer the Amazons trying once again. I'm talking the Nazis, the Vikings, even some rogue Atlanteans. Now that's where this very cool story comes to an end, but don't worry, we actually will be checking back in on this one as Wonder Woman and Shazam are going to be having a big crossover story soon. Why them specifically? Well, probably because the new Shazam movie is also going to be dealing with Greek mythology, but hey, you know what? They probably should have been hanging out and crossing over way more over the years when we stop and consider how deeply seated they all are in the Greek pantheon. It also only makes sense then that the third and final story in this anthology pack actually happens to be a Shazam family story. We see Mary Marvel, the current champion of magic, fresh off her fight in the main Lazarus Planet story, going to hunt down Malik White, the new heir to the Black Adam powers. You'd actually know all about this guy already if you were reading that Christopher Priest Black Adam book, but I will say this story actually does a good job getting up to speed on everything you might have missed. I also just looked it up, and apparently Malik's code name is White Adam, which makes sense because his last name is White, and if he ever finished med school, he would be Dr. White. Also, White Adam was a name that Tethadom used himself in another universe, but it's a name that he's not exactly a huge fan of. Mary has come to Malik to try and recruit him in rescuing her brother Billy from the Rock of Eternity, where he's pretty much been stuck since the end of that Titans Academy story. The idea being that this Lazarus rain has messed up things in the magical world, and because of that, the Rock of Eternity may actually be weak enough to give up Billy, and because Mary's own powers are on the fritz right now, she could use the backup. At first, Malik refuses because that's just kind of the guy he is right now early on in his superhero career and believing a lot of this is above his pay grade, but eventually he knows that this is the right thing to do and remembers his medical oath and agrees to help anyway. Just getting to Billy is a battle in and of itself. The Rock of Eternity sends a bunch of Shazam doubles to do battle with our heroes and slow them up. As we discover, the Lazarus Rain has actually corrupted the Rock of Eternity so much to the point that it's trying to reabsorb everyone who it's ever given power to, including Black Adam and Billy and Mary's foster siblings. This is why Billy vowed to stay behind as a prisoner of the Rock of Eternity in hopes that it wouldn't go after his loved ones. It's Malik who actually comes in with the super creative thinking, saying to Billy, well, if you can't leave the Rock of Eternity, or if you don't want to leave the Rock, why don't you just take it with you? There's nothing in the rules that says you can't, and indeed Billy does. With that, the Batson family can finally be reunited, and if you want to know more about what happened with Shazam after this, be sure to pick up the brand new Mark Waid series starting soon. And so that was Lazarus Planet We Were Gods #1, and I gotta say, I really liked this 3-pack of stories, mainly because they felt more complete with beginnings, middles, and ends than that Assault on Krypton series did. Now make no mistake, these Lazarus Planet tie-ins have really served more as promotional material than anything else, but I gotta say, they do a good job selling me on all these new books that are coming out, and if you're a fan of Aquaman, Shazam, or Wonder Woman, I think you're gonna actually find a lot to enjoy in this anthology. Personally, I'd give this an 8 out of 10, and I can't wait to read these stories. Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.